Welcome everyone, it's Crystal from Beautifully Broken Crafts, Hauls, and More, and I have some crafts for you tonight. So the first craft I have is actually two wood bead garlands I made for my YouTube sisters, Frugal Jay and Michelle Bright. So I had just taken a total of, I want to say it came out to be 60 beads, 30 beads each garland, and the first 10 I put in a cup with some pink paint that I just concocted this color. I had some April pink paint and then some other paints, and I just mixed it all together until I got the color I wanted. So I put that in a solo cup with some water and mix those beads around to paint them. So I used the leftover paint I had on my paper plate there to paint these little mugs, the fall ornament mugs from the Dollar Tree. And then while that was drying, I went on to another set of beads, which I did, and I believe I mixed a dark gray I had with some white and water, and then dropped 10 beads in there, grabbed another paper plate, dumped them out, wipe them off with a paper towel, and then I set them aside to dry. So while those are drying, I go back to the mugs, and on the back of them, I paint the frosting part white. The front is going to get something different. While that's drying, I took another cup with some milk chocolate paint by Apple Barrel and water, 10 more beads. Painted those, dumped it out. This one was watery, but I just emptied that plate back in a cup. So then I took the spackle from Dollar Tree, and I put about a tablespoon or so in a sandwich baggie and mixed it with a couple sprays of water from my squirt bottle, and then I tied it off and cut a hole in the bottom corner of it to use it as a piping, like a cake piping, a frosting pipe. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, so I use that to make it look like whipped cream or foam or whatever on the top of those mugs. Then I ran and grabbed a popsicle stick and the cinnamon from the kitchen, and I smoothed out that spackle to make it look more polished, because I didn't want it all clumpy looking or anything by any means. So after I got done smoothing that out, I took the cinnamon from my kitchen that I had brought out, and I actually sprinkled that in the spackle while it's still wet. If you would wait till it dries, it's just going to fall right back off. So do it while it's wet if you guys are going to recreate this. And I blow off any excess that was like on the mug or whatever. So then once I got that all done the way I liked it, I did take a bamboo skewer from Dollar Tree and cut it down, painted those with that milk chocolate brown, and then I actually sprinkled the cinnamon on top of those as well while the paint was wet, and stuck those down into the spackle. So those are my cinnamon sticks. So if you guys haven't guessed already, these little mugs are going to be pumpkin spice basically. I did have to let these dry overnight just because of the spackle, to give the spackle time to harden. But I was able to get everything else done for these garlands done in one night. So then I just pull a huge thing of twine out, tape off one end just to make it easier to string those beads on, and I string the beads on in whatever pattern you choose. So I want to say I used raw wood, then I used the milk chocolate one, then I used raw wood, pink and gray. Something like that. I don't know. You guys will see. It's however you guys want to do it. I just decided on this pattern and I liked it, and I said, okay, that's how I'm doing it. So I strand 30 beads on, 5 of each color. And then I did decorate those mugs with some of those Dollar Tree stickers you get that have the leopard print pumpkins and all that. I adore these stickers. And there I am fiddling with that one mug because, I couldn't decide which ones I liked where and all that. And it's just a process. I did make tassels for this too. So I just used a frame I had sitting out from my Dollar Tree stash. I wrapped burnt orange around it 10 times. And that orange I did get from Dollar Tree. And then a creamy, like tricolored yarn I had on hand from Walmart. And I want to say I wrapped that around there 20 or 30 times to make that tassel. Anywho, back to the mugs. There is a hole already made in these mugs when you buy them. So I had just used the bamboo skewer and put it in there so that way when I did spackle that hole was still open. That way I could string it on this garland once that spackle was all dried. I hope you guys are having a good day, evening. I'm not sure when you guys are going to watch this video. If you guys do end up liking like what you see in my video, please, oh, there it is finished. Didn't those turn out so cute? I just adore those. Anyhow, if you guys like my content and all that, please subscribe, like my, give me a thumbs up, comment, let me know which project you guys liked better. Okay, here's project number 2. I took one of those pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, which has the raised pieces on it, and I took out a scrapbook paper that I had on hand, and I just smoothed it over the top of that pumpkin so I could get the impression of those 3 elevated pieces that I was going to need to glue them onto that part. Now, you're going to see me originally paint this pumpkin celery green by Waverly, but I ended up changing my mind after the paint was on there in the paper because it just didn't, I don't know, it like muted the paper. So I ended up changing it to white, which made it look a lot better. And yes, it is dark in the background. That's because I was out on my back porch doing this. And the kids were out there with me too, and we were just listening to music outside and crafting, and they were playing Uno. And this paper I picked out of my scrapbook paper, I don't know why, but it was just like, it reminds me somewhat of like leopard print for some reason, like an abstract version of it. So I just thought it was cute. So then there you see me painting this pumpkin white, and it looks so much better. So then I took some twine and just made a finger bow to go in the place where that raffia bow was that these darn pumpkins come with. And I glue it to the top, if you can see where the little glue spot is still at from the previous bow. And I also take one of the laser cut leaves from the Dollar Tree and painted it with like a rose gold by Folk Art and put it at the top of the pumpkin. And then I just replaced the jute string for the hanger, and there she is. She turned out cute. She's a cute little pumpkin. And this next project is actually my favorite in this video. I am making the witch's hat wreath form. So the first thing I did was took this wicket sign from the Dollar Tree. I had traced around the letters at the broom, the hat, and the moon where I wanted to cut out, and I used my box cutter and scissors to cut off that broom, the hat, and the moon. I did break it because apparently I manhandled it a little bit. I don't know. These woodwords are super fragile, but I was able to glue it back together. It wasn't horrible. And then I end up painting this with the orange paint, but it's called Pumpkin by Waverly chalk paint. So I painted this orange, and then I'll set it aside once that's done being painted to dry and start working on the actual wreath form. So there it is, and I had this sheer black fabric on hand from like my craft stash. I know I got the fabric from Walmart, but I think I've had it for like 2 years now. So I just decided to do this as a rag wreath. So I was just cut down strips. I didn't measure any of them, nothing. I just cut them down, eyeballed it to decide how long I felt I would need it to be able to tie a knot or a double knot. Like if they were super long, I double knotted. If it was just, if it matched the majority of the rest of them, I didn't. No rhyme or reason. Now, I did work on this project in particular one evening, and then it was probably two. It was 2 evenings worth. Because I work full time and then take care of the house and all that. So I fitted in between all that. And then I had this purple deco mesh and this green deco mesh. Both are speckled with white. And I was going to use those pipe cleaners you see at the bottom to attach them all, but I hated the way it was looking. So I took them all apart and I decided to just rag wreath the brim of this hat. So I just knotted it in a pattern of purple, green, all the way across the bottom. And it turned out fine. I fluffed it all up, as you can see there, once I was done. I took that wicket sign, which has holes in it from when it had the hanger on it. So I just strung a new piece of jute string in on through those holes and tied it to the wreath form directly, because I did have a little bit of slack in between that fabric to move some of the pieces around. And there I am using some black gemstones to try covering the boo-boos from where I had to glue it back together, which was a pointless process because the fabric ends up covering it once I fluff this out. I did use 2 packs of the purple LED lights you get from the Halloween section at Dollar Tree. And I strung these up upwards first. One strand upwards through the back. I was just able to follow there was like a metal pole down the center. So I just wrapped around that from behind because the material is sheer so you can still see it light up. And then I used the second strand to go horizontally side to side. But this is my absolute favorite one of this video. I think she's beautiful. I don't know if I'm going to sell her or not. That's how much I love her. And you guys will see her all lit up on my bedroom door, which I just use for like picture, for purposes and that. But she'll get moved to one of the, probably, if I move her to anything, it'll probably be my front door because that gets the least amount of traction out there. But everybody can still see it. And look at her. Look at her. And the lights look blue, but they're not. They're purple. I swear. On to another project. It's another pumpkin. It's a wood pumpkin from Dollar Tree. I did sand down the sides of this because it was really rough. Used my ladybug to clean that up. It's a little vacuum. I used the white Waverly chalk paint. And I painted this front and back 2 coats. And then for the stem, I'll end up using the milk chocolate apple barrel brown color and a baby wipe to make it look like stain for the stem. I did use one of the Hello Fall wood cutouts from Dollar Tree and I painted it black. And I distressed it with the color Warm Buff by Apple Barrel. And I didn't worry about getting in all the cracks and crevices of this because I didn't mind it showing a little bit of the wood like in the middle of the A or the O and all that. Then I used this vinyl that I also got from Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square. And I just traced the bottom of that pumpkin and measured where it would need to go across because I wanted on the bottom half of the pumpkin only. So then I cut it out. And I did have to hold this down with bottles of paint because this stuff kept curling up on me. But it worked just fine. So once I cut this out, I stick it directly on that pumpkin. I used the roller I had sitting out just to smooth it out. And then I'll sand the edges of it just to get down any like excess on the sides. And smooth, make it more complete looking. And so then I touch up a little bit of spots with the paint on the white. And then I will glue that Hello Fall in the center of the white portion of the pumpkin with the hot glue, and then I use a little screwdriver to get the little strings of the hot glue out from in between the letters, which drives me absolutely insane, but it is what it is. I did use a piece of the white and green berry wire garland from Dollar Tree to make the like little tendrils, the little spiral things on pumpkins at the stem. And there she is, all finished. She turned out cute. Fat little pumpkin. Here I am with another Crafter Square Halloween project. It's the word eek. You can use it as a door hanger. I removed the staples and the twine and I sand this down because it was rough on the edges a little bit. And then I'm going to paint this black, or, yeah, well, it's black, but it's Waverly ink chalk paint. The color on it is ink. So I painted the whole word, both sides, and even, the front, back, and the sides, there we go, of the word black. And I did use my heat gun to dry the paint quicker because I was multitasking this day. Don't ask. Don't ask and I won't tell. So once that was all dry, I did use one of these infinity Halloween scarves from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to Mod Podge it directly to the front of this word. And I just do it in small sections. That way I can make sure it's smoothed out everywhere. There's no bubbles or creases or wrinkles. And I do cut the excess off at the bottom there. And then once I get all of it stuck down, I will go back over the top of the scarf that's on the letters with the Mod Podge to ensure that it's on there good. And it also is going to make it easier for me to cut off that fabric once it's all dry. The fabric I don't need, meaning. And it actually made it easier too to see the letters and all the nooks and crannies of where I'm going to need to cut out at. Oh, sorry, I'm tired, everybody. So here I am with that box cutter again, and I'm just cutting off that excess fabric on there once that Mod Podge had dried, and it was very easy to do, and that scarf is super thin, so it wasn't like I had to struggle to get through it or anything. And then once that's done, I'll sand down the sides some, and because the fabric was not cooperating the way I wanted it to with the sandpaper, I end up grabbing the grill lighter and just burning the edges of this, which worked out perfectly fine as well. And then after I burn down all those little frays and everything, I do end up taking the white Waverly chalk paint and just outline the words, just the edges of the word, to make it pop a little more. And there she is finished. Next, I took 3 ceramic pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. I painted 2 of them with the black or ink Waverly chalk paint. And one of them, it was already white, but I still went over it with the white chalk paint. And then for the stems, I end up having to paint all of them white because I wanted to make them rose gold by Folk Art. However, it can be a super thin paint on ceramics or like glass or anything, so it was just best for me to put that white chalk paint on the stems and then go over it with that rose gold, because then it wouldn't take as many coats to cover the stems. And then once that's all done and they're dry, I get an old bowl, fill it with water, make sure to put gloves on, and I use nail polish for this. You can use spray paint, but I didn't feel like going outside. It was dark out. So I just used this orange Wet n Wild nail polish and this iridescent nail polish we had. This nail polish is old, so a lot of this is gonna get pitched soon anyways. And I just dipped those pumpkins in this mixture of paint. Just the black ones I did in these colors, and then the white one I will use like a light pink and a light blue. I did dump out the water once I was done with these projects in the toilet, and then scrub the toilet real good so none of the nail polish would stick. I wouldn't recommend pouring this down your sink unless it's like your utility sink, but the nail polish is still going to stick, so if you don't care about that, that's fine. While those were in the kitchen drying, I did get out one of the fall mason jars from the DT. I was sanding the glitter off, and then I realized that front of it was already peeling, so it was easier to peel off that sticker and sand down any rough spots. I do use the black ink Waverly chalk paint, and I do one solid coat on the front of it, and then I kind of like do a distressed coat on the edges just to cover up any, like, there was still bits of orange glitter on it here and there from when it was made, and I wanted to cover that up. I took some warm buff paint by Apple Barrel and distressed the sides of this and the center of it, which was pointless because in the end I end up white waxing it just to, and you'll see why here in a minute. One of the stickers I end up picking to put on this is super dark, so I do put a circle with that warm buff color. I like paint a circle and then I put the sticker over top of it, hoping that it'll make it more visible. Didn't do anything. I mean, maybe a smidge, but not enough. I did hot glue that sticker on, though, and the rest of it I didn't have to. And I just picked some embellishments from the sticker sheet that I had. It was one of the Halloween Hocus Pocus ones from Dollar Tree. And then I end up white waxing it. And it did make those stickers pop out more, that I will say. And it also gave it like an aged look, because I wanted this to look like it was super old. Now, that sticker in the center says Witch's Brew, which I thought was fitting for this. And then I end up tying the twine that was originally on it back on. I did cut it down some, and I didn't, at first I tied it in a bow, but it just looked too cutesy, so then I changed my mind and tied it in a knot and just had the strings hanging. And I did find my baker's twine in the black and white, and I did add a couple rounds of that too around there. And then I added one more sticker to that bottom corner that was empty, and I settled on one that says Happy Hallows Eve, I believe, waxed over the top of that. And being the pumpkins were dry now and I had the white wax out, I decided to white wax all three of them, even though the white one, that didn't make a difference. But wax does seal your project, so it was good for the sealing situation. So I just white wax these, just because this one especially has the leaves imposed in it, so it made them pop out. And there they are finished. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Love you.